So in this section, we are going to talk about different types of options and text replies, right? And basically all the reply items. What are the different possibilities, right? So once I click on text reply, you can see, please enter your number, like, right? So what if there are any values that I want to show in this reply item? If there are, so in our last section we mentioned slots. So what is slots? So we have something called as slots here. I can add slots. So slots are basic variables that I can use for my reference. So I can add a slot. Maybe I say a URL, right? And then I have uh, the value as the entire URL of a website, something like this, right? So I can use that value for my reference. One. Second thing is all these nodes are actually slots. These are nodes which are slots. This whatever values that are entered by the user is stored in this slots, right? So I can make reference to that, or else I can define a slot in custom action through set slot method. So if you go through this documentation in custom action, you'll see how different these things are commented actually, but you can just demonstrate how you can use set slot, how you can get a slot, right? So basically what we will do is in our inquiry we are asking bunch of the user reply, the email ID. We are also asking the inquiry type. So we'll show how we can display those display those URLs, display those data in the text reply, and we can replicate the same in quick replies or other reply items. So what we'll do is I'll say the user email, your details, something like that. So this is a flow that we had created earlier. So I ask my email. So email ID is actually stored in this node, right? 83761. So if I want to display any node, what I have to do is I have to just add a curly brace, and then I add the number 83761. And the second is maybe the inquiry. And that is stored in 44070, right? So these are the two details that we have captured, right? And let me show how that would work. I publish this flow. And what we'll do is we will start this conversation again. And I say inquiry. It's asking my email ID. Right. And then just checking. So I've entered this detail, and an inquiry would have been created. But as you can see, I have basically whatever I collected, the email ID and the inquiry type, I'm able to capture here. So if you can see here, the node 83761 and the inquiry 44070, this whatever values that were entered, I'm able to see. Right now, what if there are any URLs, right? So let's suppose I say .google.com, right? So if I, or else rootmobile.com, let me just do rootmobile.com. Right now, this, what if there are URLs that are lengthy, that URLs that I actually don't want to show in the API, right? In that case, what do we do in the text reply? So what if I want to basically shorten? So this is actually a rootmobile.com API URL, which is a standard URL, but there are sometimes URL that are not even standard. So those are just for maybe a payment link. So those are not standard URLs. So in that case, I may not want to show the actual entire URL because it's going to look a bit cluttered. In that case, there is an option called as enable Acculynk. So Acculynk is a root mobile service that we provide, wherein we do URL shortening. So if you do enable this, it sees if there are any URL item, and then it shortens by itself. So what I'll do, I just do save it and I publish this, and we'll just redo the entire thing again. Right. So I fill in this detail, and as you can see, this URL has been shortened. Though it is on clicking, it takes me to rootmobile.com, but this URL actually has been shortened. And if you can see here, this URL is rootmobile.com, right? So this is what enable Acculynk does, where it shortens the URL. And then moving on, the next pointer that what I would want to highlight is the context menu, right? So why do we need context menu? So I think we had mentioned this multiple times. If I can go back, I need not complete the flow. And context menu helps me that I can select menu items outside the flow scope of the chat flow, right? So typically it's expecting an email ID to be a response, but because I've enabled context menu, I can just go and click locate us, and then it should give me a response, right? So now this is local to this chat flow, right? What if I want in this chat flow, if I'm in this chat flow, but there is one menu item in a separate chat flow that I want to get, that I want to get it predicted. So what do I do? Or else what if I want from a different chat flow, if the user enters locators, that I want this section to be triggered? What do you do then, right? So there is something called as global context menu. So while you're publishing a chat flow, you'll see something called as global context menu. If you do this, then regardless of the menu being selected, even if a different menu item is clicked, even if I'm in a different chat flow, still this section would be triggered if I enable global context menu. But if I don't enable global context menu, in that case, it won't work outside. If I'm in a different chat flow, it won't work. If I enter Lotus, it's not going to trigger this flow. But if I enable global context menu, even if I'm in a different chat flow, this flow would be triggered. This section would be triggered, right? So apart from that, the next section, what we want to do is encryption. So in user input, there is something called as enable encryption. So why do we have enable encryption? We have enable encryption because if there are any sensitive user data, right, like the PII data that I don't want my user to actually, any layman to actually see that data, right? Only those who have the encryption key should be able to actually view the data. In that case, I can enable something called as, you know, encryption. So what I'll do in inquiry section and inquiry menu, I will encrypt the email part and I'll save this. I think I don't know whether this is enabled for this section, but let's try whether encryption is enabled for this. But let me just say, I say hi. Have I published it? I'm not sure. Let me just see. Okay, inquiry. Okay, please enter your email. Right, and then I say just check. I do this. So 1 second. And this is captured. URL is shortened, but I had the email ID has been encrypted actually, right? So now if I go to conversations, I go to Valentin. This I think, yeah, I think for this section, I think encryption has to be enabled. Any which way, if this was encryption, so there is something called actually from the configuration, we would have to enable encryption. I think you would have to reach out to our team to enable encryption. But if this actually was enabled, in that case, this would not be displayed, but instead XXX would have been displayed, like this actually, right? So we will, you have to check with our team if how actually, this enable encryption would work and how to enable it. But enable encryption helps you to encrypt the sensitive data, right? Apart from that, we would also want to show template reply. So what we will do is, I think in one of the reply item we did not cover was template reply. Basically, we did not cover that because it is specific to WhatsApp. It is specific to WhatsApp, the template reply, and then you would have to register that template with WhatsApp, right? So what we have registered a template called as contact us. So what I'll do is just go here and basically say contact us. Okay. And this is a template that has already been registered. So I'll just add this context menu here, context menu, enable as context menu and contact us as a keyword. And then what I do is add the template reply. I click on this, and then I think I'll be listed with all the templates that have been created for this account, right? So in that case, I just go, I say contact us. So there is a template with contact us, and it's in English, and this is the URL, everything is there, and I save this, right? So template replies that, and then just go and publish this. And what I'll do is I'll just say hi. Contact. So once I do this, I should be getting a template reply. And you can see, right, we are delighted. And this is a specific template reply with call to action, with call now button, with visiting a URL, right? So this is what a template replies are. So in this section, we covered multiple things. One was, wherein we covered context menu and how a global context menu works. We also covered Acculynk and how that works. And we also, covered how we can make use of variables and show those variables using curly braces. And then we can basically display those variables. And we also covered, encryption. So encryption is basically I can encrypt, and then we would have to check with our team as to if you have to encrypt, you have to give a secret key, and then we encrypt, we enable encryption. And the last thing that we covered was a template reply, then how you can make use of the template reply. So multiple things were covered in this section. So I think in the next section we are going to cover about more of the features offered by Chatbot Builder, and so stay tuned. Thank you.